So, dear student, we are onto the Indian regulatory system. And in case of the Indian regulatory system, yesterday we saw the process by which we used to go for applying onto the CTRI portal. So, CTRI portal, that is nothing but the Clinical Trial Registry of India, right? So, we will just go through the recap of the things that we already saw in our yesterday's talk. So yesterday, actually, I told you that there are two different portals. The first portal that is said to be the Sugam portal. So Sugam portal, that is nothing but the Suraksha, Gunvatta and Manakta. So that will ensures the quality, safety and efficacy of the drugs, of the vaccines, of the medical devices, of the pharmaceutical products. So onto this particular portal, what is to be done? The application is to be made in order to seek permission or in order to get approval or the grant of approval to carry out the process of clinical trials for the drugs that is to be used in case of the human beings or for the trial purpose or for the test purpose or for the examination purpose or for the analysis purpose, right? So once we will get approval from this particular portal, then we are going for registering that particular kind of clinical trial onto the CTRI register of India, right? So this is the thing that already we saw in our yesterday's lecture. And while studying this, we said that there is a portal which is said to be the CTRI portal, and onto this CTRI portal there is a need to go for the uh, registration of the clinical trial that we want to carry out. And here particularly the prospective registrations are done. Now what is the meaning of prospective registration? Prospective registration, that is nothing but the registration before enrollment of any patient, right? So that means it is necessary, it is mandatory, made by the country, made by the government, that whatever the kind of clinical trial has to undergo, these has to be registered onto the CTRI portal, right? So the portal has various objectives, the portal has the database, the portal has the different levels of accesses. Now, as far as the access is concerned, there is a public access, there is a registrant access, and there is a administrator access. Correct. So three different accesses are there, and these three different accesses, they have different accessing procedure. Let us say, for example, free access, that is the public access, and that is available at a free of cost to anybody who want to see that what kind of clinical trial that are registered when these clinical trials are carried out, what is the particular site, what is the particular kind of study, what is the particular kind of involvement, or who are the sponsorer, who are the principal investigators. All this information that you will going to find onto the CTRI portal. So particularly the public access, that is free for use for anybody. Anyone can go, they can access the data. Second type, that is the registrant access. Now registrant access, that is nothing but the process by which one has to go for registration onto the portal. Suppose if someone want to apply, or someone want to report, or someone want to register the kind of clinical trial which they are undergoing. So for that process, they need to first of all register, and after the process of registration, they need to furnish, they need to provide the details onto the portal. So that is the registrant portal, right? Then there is a administrator access. Now this administrator access is what? This is the particular kind of access where the administrator possess will all kinds of right to alter, modify, make any changes onto the portal, into the data, into the submitted information. That is what is the administrator access, right? So all these are the details that already we saw, and we saw in sufficient detail what is the layout of the site, what are the different menus, what are the search options, what are the access procedures. There is a advanced search, there is a keyword search, there is a normal search, there is a FAQ, right? So this insufficient detail already we saw in our yesterday's talk as far as the public access and the registrant access is concerned, right? So we will just try to cover the last, that is the very third level of access onto this CTRI portal. So this third level of access, that is nothing but the administrator access, right? So this is the detail that is associated with the uh, what to say, that the registrant access. And once the process that will get registered, there is a generation of a particular registration or the reference number. So this reference number need to be communicated wherever it is required in future, as far as the details, if you want to communicate with that of the CTRI, with that of the Clinical Trial Registry of India. So just there is a reference number, and this reference number is responsible for tracking all the details. Now, as I said, that suppose if there is any kind of modification which is required into the application, into the registration process, if the review committee or the if the CTRI that will undergo the process of review, and in that review, if suppose they will found some discrepancy, some modification, some alteration, some changes that are necessary to be required from the registrant, then in that case what they will do, they will send back application to the registrant. Now in this case there is a need to click onto this particular link. As you can see into the particular screen, there is a link which is saying that click here to update trials sent back after review by the CTRI. So the CTRI that will undergo the process of review, they will review the application, they will scrutinize the application, and in order to modify, if any changes are required, they will send back the application. So in this particular case, whatever the information they want to modify, that will going to be highlighted into the blue color, as you can see, and onto the right hand side you will going to find there is a modify option. So generally for all the submitted information, you will going to find as a lock, or all the information that is lock, all the information that is freezed, that the applicant cannot go for editing and modification. Only the information which is sent back by the CTRI after review for the process of modification or alteration, only that will going to be made available, only that is available as a blue colored one, right? And generally if you will going to find the scientific title of study and the regulatory clearance obtained from the DCGI, this is a particular information which require the modification into the application. So that's why it is blue highlighted. And you can see that if you will just click onto this particular blue link, it will open the details, that what information that is to be sought. So in this application you will going to find that the scientific title should exactly match that cleared by the ethics committee, right? So there is a mismatch. Now if there is a mismatch, then you need to go for modification, you need to upload the particular detail. And this is just by clicking onto the modify option. So in order to modify this information, you need to click onto this modify. If you will click onto this modify, it will open the particular link, it will open the particular window where the modification is required. If modification is necessary, you have to modify, otherwise you have to save it. Now when you are saving it, at that time this blue colored remark that will goes off, and you will going to find that the default unlock field. So this in this application you will going to see that the two different field, like say the name of the ethics committee and approval status, it always remain into the open stage, it will always remain into the modification stage, whereas there is another field which is said to be the recruitment status of the trial. So these two, that is the second and the uh, uh, second from the part 4 and the first from the part 8, that will always remain into the modification stage, that will always remain into the editable field, because this will require the updation, this will require to furnish the details, right? So they will permanently remain into the updated modification stage. So then you will going to find that there is a option or there is a button onto which you need to click, that is the click here to resubmit to the CTRI. So once you will fill all this, then you need to resubmit it. And when you will going to resubmit, at that time, you will going to see that your application that is finally submitted, right? So for the process of registration, for the process of trial registration, what you need to do, you this particularly trial registration that is applicable if all queries these are addressed satisfactorily, the trial will be registered, right? Or the trial may be sent back for further rounds of the clarifications. Upon registration, all fields except the default unlock fields are locked, and after registration the trial details are expected to be regularly updated, including the protocol amendment. So there are different SOPs that you will going to find, and these SOPs are needed to be these SOPs are needed to be read before going for the process of registration, right? So this is the SOP that is to be followed for the field unlocking in case of the registered trials. Now, once a trial is completed, the status of trial that should be changed to completed, right? Once the process of trial that is completed, it will be changed as a completed, which will display the two additional data set items. Now, what these additional data set item, yeah, that you will going to find, you will going to find the date of actual study completion, when the particular study is completed. Onto that particular date or that particular date is going to be mentioned. Then the final enrollment number achieved, right? So whatever the final number enrollment achieved, that you will going to find there. In addition, the study result are also to be provided along with publication link if any. And currently the results are captured in the brief summary section. So if we see the access to the CTRI, as already I told you that there are three levels of access to the CTRI: public, registrant, and the administrator. So we are now on to the third level. That is the third level of access. That is the administrator. So the administrator that is responsible for the functioning of the CTRI, administrator that is from the CTRI side, that is the official appointed by the CTRI. So what is the responsibility, what is the duty of this official appointed by the CTRI who will going to work as an administrator? His function, his job, his duty is to find the deduplication. That is, he will check or she will check for the eliminating duplicate entries of a single trial. They will review all fields of the registration form for the presentation, completeness, accuracy, and consistency. And the trial is verified by obtaining the ethics committee documents, the DCGI approval documents wherever applicable, and the email confirmation from the trial principal investigator. Once they will find all this information, then only it is going to be verified and the approved. So upon submission, once a trial is submitted to the CTRI, all data fields that become locked for editing as they are scrutinized and reviewed by the CTRI scientist. So as I said that this is available to the administrator, all field these are get unlocked, right? That they became lock editing as they are scrutinized. Subsequently, only the fields requiring modification and or clarification are unlocked and trials sent back to the registrant. That means only the field which require modification that will goes to the registrant, but all the fields are made available to the administrator. If he or she they will require to modify, they require some modification, they can send any information, they can send any field to the registrant. So subsequently, only the fields requiring modification and or clarification are unlocked and trials sent back to the registrant for editing with the necessary request for modification or clarification specified under the link clarification sought. Right. So clarification sought, that is the link the registrant they will go for editing, and they will request the they will submit the information, they will give the clarification, and that will goes to the CTRI with the remark that the clarification sought. Hence only those fields which require modification clarification will be unlocked for editing when a trial is sent back to the registrant, right? The exception to this include the recruitment status of the trial. As already I told you that this is the particular field, that is the recruitment status of the trial, and the name of the ethics committee and approval status, which remains permanently unlocked even upon registration, as you can see in the previous here, right? So this field, recruitment status of the trial, it is remaining into the unlock, and there is a field which is said to be the name of the ethics committee and its approval. These two fields they will remain permanently into the unlock because that will require the updation. The CTRA that will review the trial that is sent, that is submitted to the CTRI, and these are going to be cross-checked in order to ensure that the trial has not begun enrolling the patients. The trial has valid, meaningful entries that are verified and validated. Ethics approval and DCGI approval, if applicable, is mandatory. Scientific title, principal investigator name, and site name that must match that the ethics approval. Then the details of each trial site along with the principal investigator is required to be submitted. So the emails are sent to site principal investigators for confirmation of participation in the study. So here you can see that all these are the details of the sites where you are going to find that what is the particular site, who is the contact number, what is the name of the site, what is the address of the site, and what is the contact details associated with the site and associated with the contact person. So the trial contact persons for the scientific and public queries, these are requested to be from India only. So these persons, like say the trial contact persons, these are for the scientific and the public queries, these are required to be from only India, not from the abroad. Confirmation of participation in trial is obtained via email from all trial contact persons other than the registrant. Right? There is a email confirmation which is required from all other contact persons other than from all contact persons other than that of the registrant. Multi-country trials registered in another registry must mention the registry number in the secondary ID section, right? So secondary ID section, there is a field in case of this application process, in case of this registration process, where you are going to find the registration number of the trial. If it is already submitted into some another country, then the registration number of that should be taken and that should be entered into the secondary ID section. Then a trial may have begun enrolling in other country, but enrollment should not begin in the India. So we require to do updates in the registration trial. So registered trials are expected to be updated regularly over the course of the study. Whatever the time period for which the study that is undergoing, whatever the data, whatever the information that is going to be obtained, this need to be time to time updated into the trial registry. All fields are locked upon registration except status and ethics of approval section. For any change in the scientific title, intervention, outcomes, sample size, etc., the ethics approval is mandatory. So without getting approval from the ethics committee, we cannot go for modification of these information. like say the title, like say the different interventions, outcomes, sample size, etc., etc. For change in contact person's email confirmation from the concerned individual, that is mandatory. If you want to change any kind of contact person, then there is a need to have the email confirmation from the concerned individual, that one who want to replace by the other. So the one which want the confirmation that he want to leave, and the person to whom we want to include, from him also the confirmation that is to be required through the email, via the email. Then the standard operation procedure SOP, that is to be followed for field unlocking in detailed under the registered trial button on registrant's welcome page. So all these SOPs are there, and these SOPs are needed to be followed. Presently this particular CTRI portal, they are having certain limitations, and these limitations can be overcome into the future. So in future they are having plan to implement the software application for the result disclosure, which is currently that is being tested, and that is under the beta version. And very few within few or in the coming days, you will going to find this application onto the CTRI. Then the seek the stakeholders support to promote and ensure the result disclosure. So whoever will be the stakeholder, like say the principal investigators or the sponsors, their support is required in order to promote and ensure this particular disclosure. The CTRA, that is under the process of development and implementation of the distinct data set items for the Ayurveda trial. Right now, they don't have the uh, data sets for the Ayurveda, but in future they may come up with the Ayurveda data sets, right? So this is all about the process of the CTRI. That is the CTRI is the Clinical Trial Registry of India, and they are having all the data set. They are having all the registrations made for the different kinds of these clinical trial that are undergoing, that are completed in case of India. And there are three different access levels. There is a public access, there is a registrant access, and there is a administrator access. Public, that is the first level, registrant, that is the second level, and the administrator, that is the third level. As we will going for moving from public to registrant to the uh, administrator, the level of access that is getting increased, right? So let's just go for the recap of the thing that already we saw in today's lecture and the last lecture. So just to recall the memory, that why should trials be registered in the CTRI? What is the answer to this? The answer to this is that the registration of all regulatory trial is mandatory as per the licensing authority in India. And in addition, several journal editors, ethics committees, and the medical colleges, they make it mandatory to register the clinical studies in the CTRI portal. That is what is the reason for its registration. When should a clinical study that should be registered? A clinical study that should be registered prospectively. Means what? That is before the enrollment of the first patient into the study. Next, what type of clinical studies are registered in the Clinical Trial Register of India? The answer to this is that all types of clinical studies. It may be interventional, it may be observational, it may be bioavailability, it may be bioequivalence, and the post-marketing study. All kinds of studies are needed to be registered into the CTRI portal. And in addition, some clinical studies from the traditional medicinal systems that are also registered in the CTRI portal. Next, where can I get more information about the CTRI? Of course,